Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Ken Ma. I'm a Linux trainer. Here I will be posting free Linux tutorials like today's on Ventoy, a video plus PDF notes that you can download. Aside from these ad hoc videos, tutorials, I'll be posting courses for beginners and Windows users, covering the basics, the introductory course, which is a 2-day course, shell scripting, which was a 2-day classroom course, and admin, which was a 2-day classroom course. I've amended my course notes from the classes that I ran over the last, 10 or 15 years to be used online. I have done some free online live training, but COVID-19's put paid to classroom training and online training in the UK at the moment. The notes contain many examples and exercises plus solutions. I supply a downloadable zipped file with my example files in it and a VirtualBox VM. In particular, that's for Windows users who don't have access to Linux. More on these courses later, but for now we'll start with today's ad hoc tutorial on creating and testing a bootable USB drive using Ventoy. You should have the link, well, you've obviously got the link to the video if you're watching this. You should also have a link to the PDF file. This is the downloaded version of the PDF file. I'll show you where to find it if you haven't got it in a moment. So this tutorial will show you how to create a multi-ISO bootable USB drive and test it. We're going to test it on Linux, and you can test it on Windows using VirtualBox. So when we've finished, the objectives are that you are able to create the drive using Ventoy, create a new VirtualBox VM, and boot the USB drive from a VBox VM. What you will need includes access to a machine running Linux, Windows, Mac or Unix, a USB drive. The bigger the drive, the more versions of Linux it can hold. I'm using a 16GB drive. Several downloaded ISO images, such as Ubuntu or Mint. Mine are here. Oh, sorry, the cat just scratched my leg. Get off. In my home directory. There we go. It's one of the nice things of working at home. Good to have Windows as well on this one. So we've got Anarchy, which you can use to install the latest version of Arch, Linux Mint 20, Windows 10, which is a free download, gparted, which is a utility that you can use to partition your hard drive, and supergrub, which is useful for recovery if your grub goes missing. I'm going to put all of those onto a Ventoy disk and then look at booting them. I'll tell you what, we'll shrink that. Go back here. There I've mentioned gparted and supergrub too. You can download the ISOs for that. You should note that some distributions, I tried Artix, which is a version of Arch, wouldn't run from Ventoy. It needs its own USB drive. You also will need to install the Ventoy package and the VirtualBox package. I'll show you how to do that. The videos and PDF files, I just mentioned where they are. The PDF files are all available from my classroom folder. The ad hoc ones are in an ad hoc folder. You can get them here. Now I've got a problem here on Mint. I'm using Evince for viewing the PDF file, but clicking won't open the link and right clicking won't open the link. Fortunately, I can copy that. Copy the link address, open the browser. This is Brave. Paste it in there. I haven't used Brave much, hardly at all in fact. I usually use Opera and Firefox. And there's my classroom. Make that a bit smaller. Oh, Brave doesn't appear to be able to do that. How about minus? There we go. So what you'll find on here is the virtual machine that I mentioned, which I use for courses. It runs CentOS 8. The scripting notes, when they're there, they're not there yet. The introduction notes, when they're there, they're not there yet. The only thing that is there is a handout. This handout shows you the main commands which I use and teach on the course and examples of those commands. There's also a one-page cheat sheet for Vim, I should say, though it works on Vi as well, most of it, and a one-page cheat sheet for the simple-to-use editor Nano. So you can have that if you want. And then what we're doing today is in the classroom folder in the ad hoc directory, the Ventoy. And this is what I downloaded. So rather than view it there, if you click on the download, you can save it somewhere in downloads. There we go. That's going to go into downloads. Yes, there we go. Let's put it in download. The videos are on a channel using playlist. There's an ad hoc playlist. This is the YouTube channel. It's the only one up there at the moment until I do an introduction playlist, one for shell scripting, one for admin. Again, I can't open it with clicking. I need to copy that link address, open the browser again, paste it in here, and there's my YouTube channel with the video that we're watching. The other videos will appear in there under the different playlists. So, assuming you've got the PDF file and you're watching the video, I would watch the video on one screen. I'm using workspaces. If you're not familiar with workspaces, if you press Control, Alt and up arrow, you've probably got 4 workspaces, which is like having 4 machines really. You can use Control, Alt and left arrow, right arrow to move between the workspaces, and just press Enter to go into a particular workspace. And if I go up arrow, right and press Enter, I'm in that workspace. Whoops, don't want that at the moment. What was I saying? Yes, watch the video, and while you're watching the video, also download the PDF file and tile the PDF file and a terminal, like so. And then you can follow along with what I'm doing. So I'll be typing things in here that appear here. You can copy and paste, but it's not a good idea because it's better if you type things in. You learn more that way. So those are the PDF files, those are videos. What is Ventoy? Ventoy is an open source tool used to create this bootable USB drive. Works with ISO, WIM, IMG or FE files, and it's the fastest method of getting up and running with Linux using a USB drive to run a live distribution. It's non-destructive, doesn't make any changes to your machine, and it's portable. You can take it where you like, your USB drive, and load it on other machines. You only need to run Ventoy once to format the disk, and then you just copy the files that you want over to that disk. It works for BIOS and UEFI and many types of operating systems, and full details are here. I'm copying from the wrong end. I should be copying from that end, I think. I don't want the full stop. Should have left that out. There we go, copy the link address. If I go back into Brave again, I can paste it here. There we go. And there's Ventoy. On here, it's got a getting started link. That tells you how to install it on Windows. I'm going to install it on Linux. Install it on Windows. Download the Ventoy version number windows.zip file and decompress it and extract the files from it, and then run ventoy2disk.exe. Select a disk device, sorry, and click the update button. We'll look at Linux in a minute. There was something else here. Yes, you go to downloads. You can download these. That's the Windows one. That's the Linux one. But then I read this. This website is under provisioned, i.e. they don't keep it up to date, I think. So please download Ventoy in the following remember. So you should go to releases, which we're going to look at in the notes. Further down, releases on the next page. We'll come back to that. So, next thing to do, check the drive letter. Now there's various ways of doing that. If you're on a DF and you've got a USB stick in, it might come up as STB1. However, if it's not mounted, it won't come up there. So a better way to find it is to use this command over here. I like this. I like text like that. Isn't that neat? So you sudo fdisk -l password. And all the moment I've got is the partitions on my single drive SDA. Now put the drive in, so I'll insert a USB drive. There we go, and it pops up so I can see it's loaded there. It's called data. It will now appear on the DF, but if you want to actually check that it's really there, run fdisk again. There it is. So mine is STB. So I'm going to format to STB. Now the next step is to create it on Linux. So download the installation package. So you go to github.com ventoy releases, which is what I just did. So if you click on that or copy and paste that, it will take you to this page. And if you run down this page, down here you'll find Ventoy for Linux, Live ISO if you want one, but we're using that one, and Ventoy for Windows. So I click there, we'll download it. I've already got it downloaded. If I save it, I'll get a second copy probably, which doesn't matter. So, and then you have to decompress the file. Now, in my user here, if I ls on downloads, that's weird. I've got two different copies. Aha! That first one must have been taken from the wrong place. That's the latest one, version 21. So what I want to do is move version 21 to a new directory, which I'm going to create here. So if I make the directory Ventoy. Oh, actually I've already got a directory called Ventoy. Let's have a look in Ventoy and see what's in there. Well, it's got 14 in it, so what we'll do is we'll remove everything in there. So that directory is empty. And then we'll copy the file from downloads. I'm not going to show you how to copy it the command line, because if you're new to Linux it won't make sense. What I suggest you do is go on the course and you'll find out how to do it there. So a simple way to do it is in Nemo, the file manager here. This is Linux Mint I'm running. I can split the screen, which I really like. So this side I'll go home and I'll have Ventoy. There it is. It's empty. And here I've got downloads. Oh, that's confusing. That's a different. I've got home downloads. That's better. That was a different downloads. So I want version 21 there, and to put that in. No, disappeared. It's not very good, is it? Deary me. Full of bugs, these things. This is why people do things at the command line. We'll have one more go, and if he doesn't work, we'll do it at the command line. It's probably easier. There's Ventoy. There's downloads. We're just going to drag that one, 21, drop in there. That's better. And in fact, I don't want any of these. So I'm just going to delete them. There, done. So here, I'm in the vcharge directory, and there is version 21. So, next step is to unzip it, decompress it. And you do that with the tar command. It's a tar archive, tape archive in effect, a tar archive, but to disk, you know, not to tapes anymore usually. Use XVF. X is extract the contents. V is in verbose format for most commands, which lists what it's doing, and F says use this file. If you want with tar, you can put a hyphen. If you think I've mistyped it, you don't need a hyphen, so the notes work fine. And here, if I type a V and press tab, there's no other files there beginning with a V. It'll fill in the file name for me, and there we go. And what that gives me is a directory. So what you then do is you change into that directory and do an ls. Two commands on one line there, separated by a semicolon. We can do that here. We go cd v asterisk 21. The asterisk matches anything in the file name up to the 21. Semicolon ls. And my prompt changes. I like that to show me the directory I'm in. Again, come on the course, I'll show you how to do that. And this is what's in the file. Now, next thing to run is the Ventoy application. If you want to get help, just run Ventoy as it is again. I'm not going to explain things about the dot at the moment. Come on the course, it's all explained there. Effectively, it means run this file in the current working directory. So what we've got here is to install Ventoy, we use -i. To force install, no matter whether it's already installed or not, you can use uppercase I, and you can update it by using -u. There are some other options down here. So what I'm going to do to install it is use -i and the drive name. So it's -i /dev/sdb. Make sure you get that bit right, because it says all the data on the disk dev/sdb will be lost, 3 exclamation marks, and you think, yes. Did you hear me? All the data on the disk dev/sdb will be lost, 3 exclamation marks. Yes. He's only asked twice. So it goes away and it creates partitions on the drive for you, makes a file system on there with mkfs, mounts the drive, and finishes. There we go. Right, so now if we go back here, there is Ventoy. So note it says the USB drive will be formatted and all the data will be lost. I think we know that. You only need to format it once, and then you just copy the ISO files to it. It will search all subdirectories recursively to find ISO files, so you can put things in subdirectories if you want to. What I'm going to do is copy over all of the files in my ISO. So I'll get Anarchy, so we can install Arch, Linux Mint, Windows 10, gparted, and Supergrub. I renamed them with ZZ just so that they came at the bottom of the list. I'm going to drag them across, and while they're copying, I'm going to pause the video because it'll take a little while to do that. So bye for now. Right, we're back. There was a bit of a glitch there, and I had to stop the video, start again and join the two videos together. But here we are. Here are my files on the Ventoy disk. So the next step is boot the machine using the USB drive. You can boot your machine if you want to, or you can use VirtualBox, which I'm going to describe now. So we'll close that, or shrink that. Won't shrink, it's a bit weird. Come out the terminal and we'll open VirtualBox. Now I could run it in a virtual machine that already exists. I've got two here. This one is in a saved state. So if I start it up, it begins back where it was. This one is powered off. But what I'm going to do is create a new one. So the base machine requirements are Linux or Windows, but it works on Mac and Unix. Recommended 2 GB of RAM, at least 20 gig of free space. You can download and install VirtualBox from here. I just remembered I can open those links, so I can copy the link like that. I don't have to highlight it. It's being daft. And then if I go into Brave, I can paste that address in here. So it's very easy to install. You can download VirtualBox for Windows hosts, for different Linux distributions, and if you're using USB 3, you might need the VirtualBox extension pack, which is the same for all platforms. There's my bear with me a minute. I lost things there. There we go. Anyway, download it there. There's a bit about USB 3. So insert the USB drive, mine's still in there, and open VirtualBox. Now to create a new virtual machine, click on New, give it a name. If you type Windows, it will say it's Windows. If you type Linux, it will know it's Linux, probably. And what you should do is give it a name which reflects what you're going to install. So assume I'm going to install Linux Mint 20 in here. Go next. Give it some memory. I usually give it 50% of what's available and share it with the host machine, but you can give it less or more if you want to, although you get into a red. If it goes red, you've gone too far at that end. Next. We're going to create a virtual hard disk now. Click Next, it's a virtual disk image. Click Next again, it's dynamically allocated. If you make it fixed size, it'll use the space straight away. Dynamically allocated only uses the space when it needs it. So it doesn't matter. 10 gig is fine for Linux Mint. And then click Create. Now, to boot the USB from the existing VM, power off the VM. You can't do it with that one, because if you go to that one, you can't change the storage. Not in the way I want to. So you make sure the VM's powered off. Click on it and go to Storage. Click on Empty under the ID controller. What you're doing is you're inserting a disk, in this case a USB drive. Click on the icon and choose a disk file. Choose the one you want to install, so we'll go with Linux Mint, open, and then OK. And make sure it's there. Then click the Start icon. And if it says please select a virtual hard drive, make sure it's not picking up the hard drive. Drop it down there. So it's giving you multi-boot options. I'm sure it's given us third party, but never mind. We'll choose Linux Mint and click Start. These often come up in VirtualBox. They're all to do with capturing the keyboard. You can just close them. So I'm going to start Linux Mint. properly installed, you should be able to move the mouse in and out of VirtualBox. If you can't, you can free the mouse with right control. You see down at the bottom here it says right control. If your mouse is stuck in VirtualBox, press right control and you should be able to bring it out. There's another one I can get rid of. Eventually, Linux Mint will run from the USB drive and we can play about with it, or we can install it. Shouldn't take much longer. There we go. It's found a connection to my network. To install it, just click on the icon there, Linux Mint. To customize it, for instance, if you want to play about with it, you can look at the menu. It's there. You can right click there, go to system settings, play about with the system settings. None of this is persistent because you're running from a USB drive. So I don't want to do that at the moment. That's not going to go away. So what I'm going to do is shut it down, which you do here. And shut down. Take the USB drive out, it says, and press enter. That's done. Powered off. To remove the ISO, if you don't want it or you want to put it somewhere else, go back to storage. There's remove down here. Click on, no, it's empty. Oh, it thinks I removed it from what we were doing. Clever, isn't it? But if you didn't, you click on storage, click on the ISO and click remove the disk. Okay, another problem there. So this is the third part of the video stitched onto the last one. The mouse wouldn't work. I wanted to show you how gparted works. So I've created a VM here called testparted, which has gparted loaded. If I start that, let's hope the mouse works this time. Right, just press return. It'll come up with a few more messages. One about altering the keyboard, I just press return. One about languages, I press return for English. I'm speaking English. And then one about running a GUI tool, I press return for that. That's the one that won't go away, which is annoying because it's hiding things at the top of the screen. So there's the keyboard, there's the language, there's the graphics. Now we'll see if we can get by without that. Okay, now there's the disk layout for this virtual machine, which I added several partitions to earlier. So I've got partition 1, partition 2. They don't necessarily have to be in order. Partition 3. If you want to remove a partition, I can delete that one. And perhaps resize that one and make it a bit bigger. So I can drag it to come out to there. Oops, that moves it. I don't want to move it. You can move it, but I don't want to move it. I'll get it in a minute. There we go. We'll drag it to there. Okay, that's resized the partition. And in here we'll create a new partition. New, using all the space. If you don't want to, you can shrink that and just use some of the space. You can change it here. You can give it a partition name and a label. What I'm going to do, add it, and then to format it, I'm going to format it to ext4, which I recommend you use for Linux. Now at this point we've done nothing, so if we abandon it, we shut down the machine. Not sure we can actually with my mouse. No, we can't. So I might have to abandon this video when you see it to the end and just reboot the machine. Never mind. I don't know why it's doing that, it doesn't usually. Right, to apply the changes, you go to the menu that you can't see, which is under there, but there's a way around that. If you press right control and F, VirtualBox goes to full screen. Now I can see the menu. There it is. So what you do is you go to the edit menu. You can undo the last operation, clear all operations, or in this case I want to apply all operations. Make sure and click on apply, and what it does now is it moves the first partition and creates a new partition, and I've got 3 partitions. Note that they're not in order, 1, 3 and 2, and if you mess about with the partition numbers and your machine's using them to boot in a certain order, you might not be able to boot. I probably won't be able to get out of this. Shrink it again with right control and F. The mouse won't let me close that, but that's the end of the video effectively. What we'll do is we'll go back to workspace 3, hopefully. Come on, back to workspace 3. There we go. Which is where we came in. That's supposed to be minimized. That's what's recording. I wanted to mention the courses for beginners and Windows users before we finish. I have another slide here, last slide. Okay, the first course I'm going to post will be the Linux command line for beginners and Windows users. And later this week or next week I'll post the first section, the introduction, and then to give you time to work through them I'm going to post 1 section a week. So the first section after the introduction is accessing the system, logging in and using simple commands. Then we've got commands and concepts like piping and redirection, directory and file commands, the basics of the Vim editor, find and job control, grep and sort, backup and restore using tar, file permissions and Vim advanced. So do come and join me there, and that's the end of the video. See you next time. Bye bye.